The sound of shattered bones echoed louder than the crash. Dozier's body hit the pavement like a sack of bricks. Limp, bleeding, barely breathing. He had only gone to buy groceries. The crowd screamed and gathered, some pulling out phones, others yelling for help. A black SUV with a shattered headlight sped off into the night. Nobody caught the plate number. Nobody caught the driver. That night changed everything. Dozier the Thunder was no longer the man who flipped giants in the WWF ring. The 5-time tag team champion, the 3-time Intercontinental King, the hero loved by fans from Atlanta to Abuja, was now bedridden, whispering through tubes and pain. Doctors shook their heads. The spinal damage was too severe. Rehabilitation was slow. The hope of returning to the ring died as quickly as the fans' chants. WWF tried. They covered the bills. They waited. They hoped. But months turned into a year. Progress didn't come. And so, the company cut him off, with a quiet farewell, a payout, and a clause that said goodbye. Oge, his wife, held his hand through it all. Their children, Benjamin, Christopher, and little Nora, watched their hero become a shell. And so began the fall of the Thunder. Oge sat by Dozier's side, wiping his forehead as his legs twitched helplessly. His voice, once deep and commanding in the wrestling ring, now came out like a whisper. Maybe we should go home, he said weakly. To Nigeria. It was not an easy decision. America had given them everything: fame, comfort, safety. But with no job, no contract, no support, survival had become a battle. The medical bills had swallowed their savings. The insurance payout was running dry. And Dozier could no longer walk, let alone wrestle. Oge looked at her children. Benjamin, their oldest, barely 17, was struggling with school. Christopher and Nora were sharp and smart, but every passing day added pressure. They returned to Lagos with 4 suitcases and fading glory. There was no red carpet, no cheering fans, only dust, noise, and reality. Oge got a teaching job in a public school. It paid barely enough, but it kept them afloat. Dozier stayed home, mostly silent, mostly still. His body was failing him fast. His muscles weakened, his voice shaky, his pride crushed. He smiled when Nora braided his hair. He wept quietly when he couldn't hug her back. The Thunder had fallen, and life didn't care. Stroke, the doctor said bluntly. He's had a stroke. Oge's heart dropped. She had rushed Dozier to the hospital that morning after finding him unresponsive. His lips were twisted, his speech slurred. One hand hung lifeless at his side. The worst part wasn't the diagnosis. It was the nurse's face when Oge pulled out her purse. "This won't cover registration, madam," the nurse said coldly. "I'm begging you," Oge pleaded, showing the folded notes. "Please, just start treatment. We'll find the rest." But the hospital had a policy: pay first or leave. Oge ran from one relative to another. Some promised to send help. Most ignored her calls. The money she managed to raise wasn't enough. Dozier lay in a hospital bed, eyes sunken, waiting for help that never came. "Bring the children," he told Oge when he saw her enter. She returned that afternoon with Benjamin, Christopher, and Nora. Dozier's voice was barely there. His lips quivered. "I love you, my children. Promise me. Love each other. Take care of your mother." His hand went cold in hers. His chest stopped rising. The man once called Thunder died in silence, because help came too late. The funeral was simple, too simple for a man once cheered by millions. The casket was wooden and plain. No fans, no cameras, no tributes from the WWF. Just a handful of neighbors, a quiet pastor, and 3 children holding back tears. Oge held it together. For her children. For Dozier. But when the earth swallowed the last of her husband, her knees buckled. Benjamin caught her. Christopher held Nora. They wept like rain. Weeks passed. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Benjamin had dropped out of school. His grades were poor, but his fingers were gifted. He stitched torn clothes, fixed buttons, and sewed patches with amazing skill. So they enrolled him in a local vocational tailoring school. Meanwhile, Oge's salary barely covered food. But she never complained. Christopher and Nora shined in school. Both earned awards and praise. Christopher dreamed of studying abroad. Nora wanted to be a scientist. Despite the poverty, Oge had hope in her children. But hope in Nigeria is like a candle in a storm. And the wind was coming. The morning Christopher received the Cambridge scholarship, Oge danced in the living room. Neighbors clapped. Christopher hugged her tightly. Benjamin smiled proudly, though silently. But joy quickly turned into worry. How will he travel? Where's the money for flight? For accommodation? For tuition? Oge asked herself, pacing. She sold her jewelry. Benjamin offered his savings from tailoring. Even Christopher's friends donated. They scraped together enough for the basics, just enough for him to start. At the airport, Oge wept and prayed. My son, don't forget us. I'll send money. I promise, Christopher replied. Months passed. He did well. Got a part-time job. Sent money at first. But then the money stopped. The excuses began. I'm trying, Mama. Things are hard here. Back home, Oge was laid off. Benjamin hadn't been paid in 7 months by his boss, Mr. Eric. Nora was in university, but barely affording transport and feeding. Bills piled up. Food ran low. Christopher stopped answering calls. One day, Benjamin whispered, "Does he even remember us?" Oge said nothing, but her eyes gave the answer. The family that once dreamed of greatness was slowly starving in silence. Nora came home one night wearing expensive perfume and holding a brand new iPhone. Where did you get this? Oge asked gently, staring at the glowing device. Modeling gig, Nora said with a bright smile. A brand asked me to promote their clothes on Instagram. Benjamin stared at her, suspicious. What kind of modeling gives you that kind of money overnight? Nora laughed it off. You wouldn't understand. Things have changed. Oge wanted to believe her. She was too tired to argue. Bills were being paid. There was food again. Nora even helped pay for her hypertension drugs. But at night, Benjamin sat in the dark, thinking. He had seen Nora enter flashy cars with tinted windows. She wore heels too high for school. Her laughter had changed, louder, bolder, and cold. One afternoon, Benjamin confronted her. Tell the truth. Are you sleeping with those men? She rolled her eyes. Don't start. Oge interrupted them before the argument escalated. That evening, Benjamin sat with his mother and whispered, I'm afraid for her. Oge replied in a soft voice, She's feeding us, Ben. What choice do we have? But deep inside, she was afraid too. Very afraid. Mom, I'm dropping out of school. The words dropped like a bomb. Nora stood with a straight face, wearing a designer dress. Her mother's eyes widened. What are you saying, Nora? I've made my decision. School isn't for me anymore, she said, sliding her phone into her bag. I'm making real money now. Benjamin stood from the corner of the room. You mean you're officially a prostitute now? Nora turned sharply. Say that again. You're shameless, Nora. Our father died begging us to love each other and protect you. This is what you've become. Nora's face twisted. You? Protect me? You can't even protect yourself. Useless tailor. Sitting here watching your sister feed you with her body. Nora flared. I'm tired. I'm not like Christopher. You think school pays bills. What are you even doing to make money? Nora laughed bitterly. Feeding you and Mama like a slave, and you're asking me questions. She fell back, stunned, then screamed, You're useless. Lazy. If I don't open my legs for money, how will you two eat? What do? Patch people's trousers. The words cut deep. In a flash, Benjamin slapped her. The sound echoed through the compound like thunder. Nora gasped, then screamed, You'll never see me again. She stormed out. Oge collapsed on her knees, shaking with silent sobs. "My children, my children." Benjamin stared at the door, his hands trembling. The family that once prayed together was now ripping apart, and the ghosts of Dozier's final words haunted the broken room. Nora never came back. Weeks passed, then months. Her room remained untouched, silent, cold, and filled with perfume-scented memories. She continued posting online, new cities, new men, champagne breakfasts in Dubai, red heels in Accra. Benjamin scrolled through her page in disbelief. "She's not the same girl, Mama." Oge didn't respond. She had grown quiet, aged beyond her years. One morning, a call came from an unknown number. "Are you Nora's family?" the voice asked. "Yes," Benjamin answered. "There's been an incident. She was brought to our clinic." The line went silent for a moment. "She's dead." Benjamin dropped the phone. Oge screamed from the bedroom when she saw his face. "What happened? What is it?" Benjamin couldn't speak. The nurse didn't say much, only that she died during an abortion. No name was given. No father of the unborn child. No clue where her body had been taken after. Oge fainted. Benjamin caught her just before she hit the floor. Their only daughter. Their Nora. Gone. Gone with secrets, shame, and sorrow. The burial was rushed and quiet. They were not allowed to see the body. The clinic said it had been handled and buried in a mass grave due to the complications and the delay in claiming her. Benjamin and Oge sat in silence for days. No tears left. Just emptiness. At night, Benjamin stared at the ceiling. Maybe if I had just kept quiet that day. Maybe if I didn't slap her. Oge placed a hand on his. "You're not to blame," she whispered. "She was already drowning." "But I was her brother, Mom." Benjamin began having nightmares. Visions of Nora in a white dress soaked in blood, calling his name, crying. Meanwhile, Oge's health got worse. Her legs swelled. Her pressure shot up. The drugs she needed were expensive now. Benjamin worked at a local bar, mopping floors and serving drinks. His salary couldn't feed a housefly. They were falling apart. And Christopher, the brother in England, he hadn't called. Not once. One Sunday afternoon, Benjamin heard a car horn outside their compound. He stepped outside and froze. A brand new SUV sat outside the gate. The sun reflected off its sleek black body. The driver's door opened. A man stepped out, wearing designer shades and holding the hand of a light-skinned woman with long straight hair. It was Christopher. Benjamin blinked. For a second, joy bubbled in his chest, but it quickly turned to rage. Christopher looked around, smirking. "I decided to surprise you. Been years, heh." Benjamin didn't smile. "You're just now remembering your family." "I came to see Mom. Relax." Benjamin walked past him, his eyes fixed on the SUV. He stopped, picked up a small brick from the ground. Before anyone could blink, he smashed the windscreen. Glass exploded. Christopher shouted, "Are you mad?" His girlfriend screamed and stepped back in fear. Then it happened. Fists flew. Blood spilled. Two brothers. One battlefield. And the final chapter of Thunder's legacy had just begun. The first punch came from Christopher. It landed hard, busting Benjamin's lip. But Benjamin didn't back down. "You forgot who you are," he yelled, charging at his brother. They clashed in the dusty compound like animals. Christopher's girlfriend screamed but didn't dare come close. Stones, rods, fists, anything they could grab, they used. Blood splashed on the ground. Screams filled the air. They weren't just fighting. They were releasing years of buried betrayal. The pain of abandonment. The death of their father. Their broken sister. Their starving mother. "You left us to die." Benjamin roared, slamming Christopher's head against the SUV. Christopher kicked him away, breathing heavily. "You think I owe you? I worked for everything I have. I built my life." "With whose help?" Benjamin shouted. "We sold everything for you to travel." The fight escalated. Benjamin pinned Christopher to the floor and smashed his head into the cement. Once, twice, 3 times. Blood gushed. Christopher stopped moving. His eyes stared blankly at the sky. His chest didn't rise again. His girlfriend fell to her knees, screaming, "You've killed him." Benjamin stood over the lifeless body of his brother, shaking. And just like that, another piece of the family was gone. The sirens came loud and fast. Neighbors gathered in horror, whispering, pointing. Christopher's girlfriend gave her statement with trembling hands. Her face pale, voice broken. Benjamin didn't run. He sat beside his brother's corpse, covered in blood, staring into nothing. The police found him there, calm, silent. When they cuffed him, he didn't resist. Inside the police van, he whispered, "Tell my mother, I'm sorry." At the hospital, Oge had been waiting for her sons to return. She hadn't eaten all day. Her breathing was heavy. Then the news came. Christopher was dead. Benjamin was arrested. She froze. Her body shivered uncontrollably. The nurse screamed for help. But it was too late. Oge's blood pressure shot through the roof. Her heart couldn't take the pain. The woman who once danced in joy when her son got a scholarship died in grief. 3 children, 1 mother, all shattered, and Thunder's legacy buried in blood and silence. The courtroom was cold. Benjamin stood in the dock, wearing a plain brown prison shirt. His hands trembled. His face was swollen from the beating he got after his arrest. The prosecutor read the charges. Murder of one Christopher Chikadibia Okafor. His full name echoed in the air like a death sentence. Benjamin didn't speak. He didn't deny it. The judge looked at him. "You are accused of killing your brother in cold blood. Do you have anything to say?" Benjamin lifted his eyes. Tears streamed down. "I didn't mean to kill him," he whispered. "I just wanted him to feel our pain." Murmurs filled the courtroom. In the back row sat Christopher's British girlfriend, weeping silently. No family was present. Oge was dead. Nora was gone. Christopher was buried by embassy officials. Benjamin stood alone. No one to plead for him. No one to cry for him. No one to hug him goodbye. Just silence. And the gavel. Life imprisonment. Benjamin didn't flinch. He closed his eyes and whispered again, "I'm sorry." Prison walls are cold, but regret is colder. Benjamin spent his days staring at the ceiling of his tiny cell. Rats ran across the floor. The stench of sweat and decay filled the air. But nothing hurt more than the silence. No visitors. No letters. No pictures. His mother was buried without a proper coffin. His sister, dumped in an unknown grave. His brother, dead by his own hands. He had no one. And worst of all, no forgiveness. Some inmates mocked him. "You killed your own blood? Wicked soul." Others kept their distance. But one old man, a preacher in the prison, sat beside him one day. "Why did you kill him?" Benjamin didn't respond. The man patted his shoulder. "Pain can turn even angels into beasts. But pain doesn't give us the right to destroy what's left of love." That night, Benjamin cried like a child. He wept until the guards banged his door, telling him to shut up. But how do you silence a broken soul? One day, the prison chaplain brought Benjamin a small package. Inside, a single photo. Faded. Torn. It was of the entire family. Dozie in his wrestling gear, Oge smiling beside him, and the 3 children in front. Benjamin had his arms around Nora and Christopher. He stared at the photo for hours. "I failed all of them," he whispered. He remembered when their father would lift them up on his shoulders and roar like a lion. When their mom would cook okra soup and laugh when they asked for more. When Nora would sing as she cleaned. When Christopher would study by candlelight. All gone. And he was the last one left. Not free. Not proud. Just breathing. Existing. And that, to him, was the real punishment. A letter arrived. It was the first in over a year. The prison warden handed it to Benjamin without a word. There was no name on the envelope, Just one sentence. You don't know me, but I knew your father. Benjamin's hands trembled as he opened it. The letter inside was short. My name is Emeka. I was your father's tag team partner in the WWF. He spoke of you often. I only just learned of his death, and of everything that followed. If you ever get this, please know he was proud of you. All of you. Even when life fell apart. Even now, I believe you deserve another chance. I'm working on your case. Stay strong. Benjamin stared at the paper until tears soaked it. Someone remembered. Someone still cared. It wasn't much, but it was a thread of hope. And for the first time in a long time, Benjamin prayed. Not for freedom, but for forgiveness. For his father. For Nora. His mother. And especially for Christopher. But forgiveness was not so easily earned. The prison walls didn't care about letters or lost dreams. Weeks passed. The cells remained dark. Benjamin found purpose helping the chaplain, sweeping the chapel, reading scripture. But each time he heard the name Christopher in his mind, guilt clawed at him. One afternoon, the warden called him. There's someone here to see you. Benjamin's heart raced. He walked to the visitor's booth and stopped. It was Christopher's British girlfriend. She looked older now, her eyes tired, but still filled with pain. They sat in silence, separated by glass. Finally, she spoke. I watched you kill him. Benjamin's head dropped. I wanted to hate you forever, she said, voice shaking. But then I remembered the fear in your eyes. You weren't a monster. You were broken. Benjamin fought back tears. I'm sorry, he whispered. She nodded. I'm not here to forgive you. That's not mine to give. I just wanted you to know. He loved you. Even when you abandoned him, he still called you his brother. Then she stood and walked away, leaving Benjamin shattered all over again. Rain fell that night. Heavy, angry, cold. Benjamin sat by the prison window, staring through the bars at the storm. He remembered Nora dancing in the rain as a child. He remembered Christopher chasing her with a bucket. He remembered their mom yelling at them to come inside, but smiling the whole time. Now, silence. Just the patter of rain and the ghost of laughter. One of the inmates handed him a newspaper the next day. On the back page, Cambridge graduate murdered by brother in Nigeria. A story of pain and promises broken. There was a picture of Christopher in his graduation gown. Benjamin traced the lines of his face with his finger. Why didn't I just hold on a little longer? He whispered. Why didn't I wait? He folded the paper and tucked it under his mattress. There was no one left to read it to. No one left to share memories with. All he had now was memory and misery. Years passed. The prison became his world. The faces changed. Guards came and went. Inmates were released or buried. But Benjamin stayed. Gray strands now curled at the corners of his hair. His eyes, once bright with fire, now dimmed with sorrow. The chaplain died of old age, and Benjamin was asked to take over the chapel. It gave him a strange kind of peace. A duty, a quiet redemption. He preached to the inmates, not about salvation, but about choices. I had a brother once, he'd say. I loved him, but I let pain speak louder than love. Some listened, most didn't, but Benjamin never missed a sermon, because deep inside, he hoped his words would echo into the air and reach somewhere, anywhere, beyond those walls. It was a quiet morning when it happened. A guard found Benjamin kneeling at the chapel altar, unmoving, unbreathing. His hands were folded in prayer. His lips frozen in a whisper, "Forgive me." They buried him in the prison yard. No family, no visitors, only a small cross carved from scrap wood. One of the inmates later placed a note beside the grave. Here lies Benjamin Okafor, son of thunder, brother, tailor, teacher, a man who broke, wept, and tried to fix what couldn't be fixed. Back in America, somewhere in a dusty box, old WWF footage still played. A younger Dozie, known as the Thunder, stood tall in the ring. Crowds roared. He raised a championship belt high above his head and smiled. not knowing what fate had in store, not knowing that one day, his name would echo, not in glory, but in grief. And just like that, the Okafor family vanished. Not with a bang, but with a whisper. A story of love, failure, and tragedy, buried beneath the silence of what could have been.